All right. So, reason number 1 million to vote early, or at least, if not by mail, at least vote early in person, but to vote early. Because domestic extremism is, in the forecast. All right. Extremists inspired by conspiracy theories pose major threat to 2024 elections, U.S. intelligence warns. Because, yeah, that's great. All right, let's get to the article. U.S. intelligence agencies have identified domestic extremists with grievances rooted in election-related conspiracy theories, including beliefs in widespread voter fraud and animosity towards perceived political opponents as the most likely threat of violence in the coming election. In a joint intelligence bulletin that was not distributed publicly but was reviewed by NBC News, agents from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security warned state and local law enforcement agencies that domestic violent extremists seeking to terrorize and disrupt the vote are a threat to the election and throughout Inauguration Day. Because that's great. And I don't think I have to tell you guys who that threat is coming from. Now, like I said previously, I guess it's possible that there are people far left, but based on history, I'm not so sure about that. The report identified the potential targets as candidates, elected officials, election workers, members of the media, and judges involved in election cases. So yeah, that kind of cinches which side is doing the threatening. The potential threats include physical attacks and violence at polling places, ballot drop boxes, voter registration locations, and rallies and campaign events. Because we've all been given permission to act like violent toddlers. The October internal report was among several intelligence documents obtained through public records requests by Property of the People, a nonprofit group focused on government transparency. Federal agents regularly provide that type of threat assessment to state and local law enforcement agencies through formal bulletins. Before January 6, 2021, they were more reluctant to distribute them because of concern that investigations of Americans might appear to violate free speech protections. Oh good, probably another junk call. Because it's election season. The United States remains in a heightened, dynamic threat environment, and we continue to share information with our law enforcement partners about the threats posed by domestic violent extremists in the context of the 2024 election. DHS spokesperson Mayra Rodriguez said in a statement, "Violence has no place in our politics, and DHS continues to work with our partners to evaluate and mitigate emerging threats that may arise from domestic or foreign actors." You know, other countries usually have poll watchers from like the UN to make sure that an election is fair. And it's sad that the U.S. is becoming one of those countries that the UN has to have observers come to make sure that the election is fair. That's just sucks. Still, the reports are not typical election threat intelligence, since Ryan Shapiro, Executive Director of Property of the People. The documents are unmistakably a product of a radically heightened threat environment. Former President Donald Trump has claimed elections have been rigged against him since 2016 when he won the Electoral College but lost the popular vote. The guy is unhappy even when he wins. In 2020, he and his allies ramped up false claims of cheating, lies the court quickly struck down, but the claims became fuel for a violent attack at the Capitol, which aimed to overturn the election. And he's doing the same thing now. Oh, I will 100% agree that I lost if it's a free and fair election. Actually, he doesn't even say I will agree to the election results if it's free and fair. Translation, if he wins, it's free and fair. But if he loses, obviously it was rigged. Perceptions of election fraud are a prominent narrative for extremists who have targeted government and election officials with at least 3 domestic extremist attacks and 2 disrupted plots being linked to such false claims since January 6th, according to the report. Intelligence agents also listed immigration, LGBTQ issues, abortion, and the failed assassination attempts against Trump as motivations for recent calls for violence from extremists. The funny thing is, both attempts, these were not Democrats who were attempting to kill him. Because, like I've mentioned before, when you're part of a party that embraces violence the way the Republican Party is under Trump has become, then you shouldn't be surprised that when these people become disillusioned to you, they're going to try to kill you. I mean, I just don't understand why that's so hard to understand. Threats to election workers, including letters containing white powder, online harassment and threats, and swatting, in which fake calls to emergency services trigger potentially dangerous law enforcement responses to people's homes, have recently increased, according to the FBI. Such threats tend to originate from areas where election results have been contested, according to the report. Election officials have responded to the warnings by ramping up security measures. In Maricopa County, Arizona, an epicenter of election conspiracy theories and challenges in 2020, officials are reportedly implementing heightened security measures for Election Day, including metal detectors, armed guards, drones, and police snipers. My God, that is just sad. The report follows orders released in recent weeks that warn of an increase in online chatter about an impending civil war, as well as several incidents of violence or thwarted attacks before the election. Agents wrote that some extremists were reacting to the 2024 election season and prominent policy issues by engaging in illegal preparatory or violent activity that they linked to the narrative of an impending civil war. Now, I realize that there are Democrats who are concerned about a civil war, but it's not because they want one. It's because of fear of what would happen if Trump were to win. Because even though there are people who refuse to believe he's going to be an authoritarian, that just says you only listen to the parts that you want to of what Trump says, and not to everything he says. A separate October bulletin from Colorado State Threat Assessment Center highlighted threats posed by people who disputed the legitimacy of the 2020 election results, which again, no court has found to be even remotely credible. The report underscored the problem of insider threats in which people with authorized access to the election process might attempt to derail it, with apparently no evidence whatsoever. It also noted a continued dialogue amongst individuals on extremist discussion groups and forums that the results of the 2020 elections were inaccurate. Right, because they know better than everybody else. I mean, that's what happens when you have people like J.D. Vance whining that experts shouldn't be relied on because experts make mistakes. As if to be an expert means that you're infallible. Yes, experts make mistakes, but you know who's generally writes that ship? The experts. It's not like they refuse to accept that they're wrong. So yes, this whole culture of do your own research and don't believe experts. I mean, yes, in certain cases you should do your own research, like when you want to buy the best vacuum cleaner for your space. Yes, you should do your own research. You shouldn't necessarily rely on one person or the other, because obviously if you go to a specific store, then obviously they might sell you not necessarily the best, but whatever would give them the highest commission or whatever. So I can see that sort of thing being done, that you want to ensure that you get the best bang for your buck in that regard. But there are plenty of but you still have to rely on experts at some point, like Consumer Reports rated the best 10 vacuum cleaners with these requirements, whether it be a tunnel vacuum or with a bag or without a bag or whatever. So you still rely on experts. You can't do everything yourself. I mean, you might go through each and every review and decide which one you like best. That may not necessarily fit what Consumer Reports rated, because because of the price, or you just happen to like, you don't need these doodads but you need these, whatever it is, because it is very general. But there are plenty of things where you should just listen to the experts and not worry. Anyway, and if every single court has smacked down the 2020 big lie thing, if every court has smacked it down, then it's probably fake, especially when you have Rudy Giuliani, the newly paupered Rudy Giuliani, who became a pauper because he has to give everything he owns to a couple of election workers because he defamed them, and he had to be racist on top of that by first claiming that they were passing a flash drive between them when it turned out it was a ginger mint. And the fact that they must be drug dealers because look at them. And the only thing that screams drug dealers to me that a racist would think is because they're black. Because there's nothing about what either one of them looks like that screams drug dealer. Except if you're racist and think that that's what black people do. So anyway, one more paragraph of the article. The report noted recent incidents of targeted violence, including increased activity from white nationalists and Proud Boys organizing against Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. That's great. It also noted disturbing calls for violence on anonymous online message boards targeting election workers and undocumented immigrants as part of election steal defense prep. Seriously, that steal defense prep is to threaten people for doing their jobs? I mean, I can see how there would be observers to make sure that nothing screwy goes wrong. But everyday people threatening election workers because they assume that the election workers are going to steal the election for, I guess, Kamala? What? And for those who think that Trump is somehow above all this crap, just look up his Madison Square Garden rally that he held. I mean, there were people who said horrible, horrible things, and not the least of which is this so-called comedian that really, really laid into the anti-Puerto Rican and anti-black sentiment. I mean, he was so racist. It's like, how, in what world can even anybody find this funny? I mean, maybe the Ku Klux Klan, but seriously, unless you are a white nationalist, I just cannot imagine you finding these jokes funny. And these were all people who were allowed to be as part of Trump's rally. And if you hear Trump's campaign claiming that they knew nothing about this, they vetted, and those lines were in the teleprompter. So it's not like they didn't know what was happening. They just are trying to backtrack because they don't want to be seen as hateful, even though they are. So yeah. This is why I say that if after everything Trump has done and is threatening to do, and you're still voting for Trump, I have nothing to say to you. I mean, you want to follow my videos in the hope that maybe some of the things I say will penetrate? Go for it. I would love to convince you that voting for Trump is a really bad thing. But like I said, if you're still voting for Trump, then you're beyond reason as far as I'm concerned. You are so into the cult that there's just no point in trying. So I don't know. I think I had one Trump supporter just cancel their subscription to this channel. Which, speaking of which, I'm up to 50 something subscribers. So I appreciate that. So before that person, I'm pretty sure that I know which person unsubscribed. Before they unsubscribed, I actually had the number of subscribers as my age, which I thought was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if all you're going to do is watch this channel so you can post all this unhinged bullcrap in the comments, yeah, it's probably for the best you unsubscribe, because I just do not have the energy to even respond anymore to that bullcrap. It's just, I just can't. At this point, you've made it known that you don't actually care about facts. You want to live in this bubble where everything is scary, and I want to just pick out the bits and pieces that Trump says that I like and ignore that anything else he said is truthful, because I want him to be the person I think he is that badly. At that point, you are not living in reality. Hell, even one of the showrunners of The Apprentice has apologized for making Trump so famous because of what a horrible, horrible person he is. So yeah. Um I believe I've said everything I wanted to say. Actually, I've completely gotten off track. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.